Hey everyone, it's time for another look at the astrology this week. My name is Katie Sweetman. This is January 4th through 10th, 2021. So happy new year if you are watching me live. Let me know where you are watching this from. Of course, I can't travel, but I gotta travel through you all. So this week we are starting off a new year properly. We're starting off a new year with a Virgo moon. It's kind of getting us back down to business after some time off. If you were away from the office, if you were away from work. I mean, aren't we all really away from the office these days, working from home? But I do hope that you had a great end of the year. I know, 2020 was not entirely kind to everybody, but something that I was talking about, I think whether it was with a client or with some of the things I was writing before the end of the year, I think there were some silver linings. So hopefully you saw some silver linings despite what was going on last year. So nevertheless, again, my name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York. And every week we gather to talk about the astrology. It's to get a big picture of what's going on and how do we interface it, because something that I say over and over again, there's the astrology and then you are the other 50%. How do you best work with this time? Yes, there's challenging astrology, but we can use it to actually do really powerful and amazing things. And maybe when you look back, you see how 2020 was a time of powerful transformation. I know I do. So just looking at the live comments, I see some familiar faces. Hello, thank you for joining me live. For those that are watching on the replay, hello as well. Maybe you are on IGTV or Spotify or even on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube and speaking of the new year, I started doing video horoscopes for your monthlies. So up until December, actually for the last 6 years, I did written monthly horoscopes, and unfortunately I don't have the time to do it anymore. So I'm trying to make a lot of structural changes in my life so that we can still connect, we can still do this, and I can kind of take care of everything else because everything is growing. I've got to create new systems and structures. I know I've been in contact with a few of you about kind of doing some assistant work for me and helping me with some of the transcript work. But, I put your January horoscopes on YouTube. You can also find them on my website, empoweringastrology.com. I did them as individual recordings. It's a work in progress, everybody. Hopefully by February we'll have transcripts down. It's the goal to have the subtitles. It's a lot of things to have to juggle, but I know I've gotten some really great feedback, and I know that I put some of them up, and then some of them disappeared, and I apologize for that. It was like Virgo and Gemini. I was like, people with Virgos and Geminis were emailing me like, where's mine? I had some technical issues, so hey, it's a learning curve for us all. But like I said, we'll have it ironed out by the next time. So yes, go to my website, empoweringastrology.com, or you can go to my YouTube channel and watch your January horoscope, and I give you the overview. But we're looking at this week, and so this week we have Mercury making a conjunction to Pluto today, Monday, January 4th. So not only is today a Virgo moon, which is a Virgo moon just kind of wants to get down to brass tacks. It's very practical. It's a very organized sign. But with Mercury conjunct Pluto, we're getting a little tunnel vision on it. We're getting a little obsessed. So maybe you're kind of cleaning and organizing. Maybe you're purging. Mercury conjunct Pluto loves to purge. Maybe you're seeing things in a very different light than you did a few days ago, because Mercury is in Capricorn. It can get very laser focused or very blunt about things. So I think today was really a good day, and even tomorrow, to kind of get your ducks in a row for the coming week and the coming month. Something that is a signature in the astrology of 2021 is what's called a square between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus and Taurus. Now, why am I mentioning this? Well, because on Wednesday, January 6th, Mars finally gets out of Aries, where it's been since the end of June of 2020. Normally, Mars spends only 6 weeks in a sign. So it spent 6 months in a sign because it went retrograde from September 9th until November 13th. So we had this extra long time with Mars in Aries. It's a very hot place for Mars to be. It kind of has a lot of strength and dignity in the sky, but we also had to do a lot of really deep work while Mars was retrograde from September to November. But this has been one area of our chart that's had a lot of focus and quite possibly a lot of friction as well, because Mars was sort of running up against Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter. They were all in Capricorn. At least Saturn and Jupiter were in Capricorn. Now they're in Aquarius. So this year, now that Saturn is in Aquarius, it's making something called a square to Uranus and Taurus. My theory about 2021 astrology is that these two parallel stories that began in 2018 when Uranus went to Taurus, Saturn went to Capricorn, they now are coming up to a head in some way. Saturn and Uranus, like Saturn, it just on paper is more cautious, it's more structural, it's more, do the things you're supposed to do. I love Saturn. It's not to say that Saturn is like the be end and end all, but then you have Uranus, and Uranus's job in many ways is to save us from ourselves. It's to open our eyes. It's to help us to see things differently in our lives, and it wants us to be us. So you may feel as you are going into this week that you have one foot in some old life and you have another foot in another life. And so here comes Saturn and Uranus, and here comes Mars and Taurus. Because Mars hasn't been in Taurus, Mars takes every 2 years to come back to a sign, but when it goes into Taurus, it's going to start to activate this friction between the old and the new, your old life and your new life. So I want you all in your own time to go back and to look and see what were the new things that started to come into your life 2018, 2019, and maybe even 2020. And where do you see the tension? Maybe it's an old structure, maybe it's an old way of seeing things, doing things, it's a career, it's a relationship, it's where you live, but there's another part of you that's already in another life. So when Mars goes into Taurus, it's going to be in the same room, so to speak, as Uranus. Uranus has been in Taurus since March 6th of 2019. Taurus on paper is a very has an instinct to preserve and to create stability and to gather resources so that life can flourish. It's a wonderful sign. It helps us to kind of create fertility, to create new life, to enjoy the sweetness of life. Of course, there's 2 signs to every sign, and then there's 2 sides to Taurus as well. So that said, you have Uranus, this kind of revolutionary planet of awakenings, and this planet that wants us to do things differently in a sign that by its very nature is just to keep things even keel. There's a bit of a tension. So there's one part of your life, the Taurus part of your life, because I know you might be thinking, Katie, I'm not a Taurus. I know you're not a Taurus, or maybe you are, but there is one part of your astrology chart that is a Taurus. And I'll, when I talk about Mars going to Taurus, which I'm doing right now, I'll tell you what part that is for each sign. So that part of our life started to awaken, started to shift, started to transform 2018, 2019. Here comes Mars. Mars is a trigger. Mars is activating it, but it's also going to make something called a square to Saturn. So Mars square Saturn is a bit intense astrology and in the traditional eyes of things, and for good reason. It's a little bit of a clash. And even though Aquarius has a reputation for being a very progressive sign, it's still Saturn. Saturn's instinct is to create structure, to create boundaries, to create rules, to say yes to some things, no to others, and to create stability and balance. So there's some sort of wobbliness that's happening this month, and it's taking us into February, because I believe it's February 17th of 2021 that we have the first Saturn square Uranus. There's going to be 3 in total, going all the way into December of 2021. So let's go back. Let's look at where's the Taurus part of your chart. So if you're an Aries, the Taurus part of your chart is money. It's stability. It's the things you own. It's how you earn a living. It's the money in the bank. It's your need to kind of gather resources. It's value and worth. So something has shifted. It has been shifting since May of 2018, March of 2019, of how you earn a living, what you value, what you intrinsically value, how you value yourself. It's been a revolution. Maybe it's been a quiet revolution. So here comes Mars. Mars is not quiet. Mars, just by its very nature, is an activator. It propels us forward. It's a planet of leadership and action and courage and bravery. And so it's going to be a little combustible with Uranus and Taurus. If you are a Taurus, this is where maybe it gets a little bit interesting for Taurus, because Taurus, this is you. You've had Uranus in Taurus, May 15th, 2018 to November 2018, March 6th, 2019, until 2025, 2026. So that's a 7-year story of you completely reinventing yourself. You're only, 2-3 years into it? You're like, the story is like still at the beginning. So the idea, Taurus, is that if you and I were to like check in 2025, 2026, 5 years from now, there's something about you that's radically different. Here's the thing about Uranus. It doesn't want us to be something that we really aren't. So you have to now be you. You may look different in the coming years. You might make changes in your appearance. You might strike off your life in a different direction. There's still this kind of really intense desire for you to find who you really are right now, but it may mean doing things that are very anti-Taurus in a way. Like I said, Taurus wants to create stability and security. Uranus, planet of revolutions, awakenings, Prometheus, the light and the dark, the awakening. So something's going to shift for you over the next, say, 2 months, while Mars is in Taurus. So this is something to keep in mind. Gemini. So Taurus is the part of your chart. It's hidden. It's what's called the 12th sign, 12th room of your astrology house. And it's the unconscious. It's something that you don't quite see. It's your dreams, it's your intuition, it's your spirituality. It's your mysticism. It's your inner faith as opposed to your external faith. So Uranus has been opening a part of your chart that you haven't even seen before because it's in your blind spot. It's opening up something about how you see yourself and things you didn't even know were there. So go back and look at what's been going on over the past 2 years, Gemini. Like, what have you started to awaken to? Things in your blind spot, things within you didn't even know were there. So here comes Mars, and Mars is sort of activating your dreams, activating your intuition, kind of poking at the edges and the boundaries of you and spirit, you and energy. I will say when Mars is in this part of your astrology house, your astrology chart, it's a little bit more low energy. So if you need to rest and recuperate, life certainly has been a bit much, then you might be a little low energy the next 6 weeks while Mars is in Taurus. Cancer. So Taurus is friends for you. That's the part of your chart that talks about friends and community and society, social causes. So maybe Uranus went into Taurus back in 2018, 2019. You got new friends or new people, new communities, new social connections came in. So here comes Mars. And so Mars is activating how you connect to people on a broader level. Now, mind you, we're all kind of connecting via the internet these days, so this could all be happening virtually in some way, but look at your friendships. Who are the people in your life? Who are the new people in your life who's trying to awaken you and to help you see things differently. Maybe you've had to really go and find the people who are your real friends. Mars in this part of your astrology chart can be a little hot. It's not exactly known for its diplomacy. It's a little bit more singly minded. That said, Mars is your relationship planet, so it does highlight connection in some capacity, whether it's friends, whether it's with other relationships and partnerships, over the coming 6 weeks. Leo. So Leo, you and Taurus and Scorpio and Aquarius, you're going to have a very interesting 2021. That's because Uranus, for you, Leo, is in your career sign. It's been in your career sign since 2018, 2019. So I've been saying this to every Leo client of mine. I've been saying this to every Leo rising client of mine. There is something about your professional life that is or will radically shift by 2025, 2026. If, for example, you've been trying to convince yourself that you are a lawyer, for example, nothing against lawyers, and you are really just want to be a massage therapist, for example, that friction, you can't fight that anymore. Because remember, Uranus wants authenticity. It wants you to be you. So here comes Mars. And Mars is activating the story. So over the next 6 weeks, you might see your professional life get a bit interesting. If you are, doing what you're really here to do, for example, and Mars is just going to make it bigger. It's going to kind of propel you forward. But if you're still trying to fight that split, that divide within yourself, or you're still trying to search for, what your place is in the world, Mars is going to make things hot. So maybe new opportunities come in. Maybe you get sort of that push or get propelled forward to sort of find the thing that is going to be your place in the world. That is your place, not what your parents want, not what your friends want, not what your community wants, not what your fears want. It's a time of really powerful openings and awakenings for you, Leo. Virgo. So this part of your astrology chart is about faith and truth and meaning. Now, normally, and if we lived in a world where you could just readily hop on the plane and travel, then this would be a time of travel, foreign travel, long distance travel. It's a little difficult right now. Nevertheless, Mars is inspiring you to see the world. Now, seeing the world doesn't have to be on a plane, or even, when you get off the plane, of course. Seeing the world can be through different forms of media. It can be through education. It can be through reading. So Mars is now trying to open your eyes. Well, Uranus has been trying to open your eyes for the last 2 years because, Virgo, you're an earth sign. Earth signs, they typically just want to kind of create structures and keep things the same. That's great. It preserves life. But Virgo, the idea is that you now have to see things radically differently. And it may mean that you've sort of had your blinders on, or maybe you had blinders on up until 2018, 2019, and then here comes Uranus. Maybe because this is the part of your chart that talks about higher education or going back to school in some capacity, that you've been really thinking about going back to school, and now here comes Mars. Mars is like, let's go, let's take action. I will say Mars in Taurus, Mars is not at home in Taurus in a classical perspective of astrology. It's in what's called its detriment. It just means that Mars is normally more impulsive. It wants to take action. It wants to move forward. And Taurus, it has to be strategic. It has to calculate. It has to move a little bit more slowly. It's a little bit more cautious in its movements because it's trying to think, like, if I do this, if I rush off and I do this thing, do I still have money in the bank? Do I still have food? So it's a little bit more risk averse. So just kind of keep that in mind, just sort of base level programming. So Virgo, you're trying to open up and see things differently. So really look at the things that are sort of awakening you at this time. Maybe there are ideas that you find incredibly challenging, but there's a reason they are challenging you, that's trying to get you to see things from a different perspective. Libra. So Mars has gone or will go into the part of your chart that talks about the deepest parts of you. We'll call it the eighth room. The eighth room is a very psychological room in the house. It's where you have to go to face yourself. So Mars is sort of leading you into this space where Uranus has been since 2018, 2019. You now have to really do the deep work. Things that you haven't wanted to deal with, or the things that you've been awakening to over the past 2 years, now Mars makes it more immediate, makes it more hot. This is also a part of your astrology chart that does speak to money, whether it's money from a partnership, money from outside sources, benefits, what have you. But this is, there's this idea of security, trust, and, do you trust people? Do you trust a mate? Do you trust your friends? Can you open up and be vulnerable? So there's a bit of a revolution with vulnerability and intimacy that's been happening the past 2 years, and now Mars just cranks it up. Scorpio. Uranus has been in your relationship sign since March of 2019, May of 2018. The idea is that, Scorpio, you have to radically reinvent how you connect to people. Scorpio, you are a sign that if somebody wants to get to you, they have to go through the bouncer, they have to go through the retina scan, they have to go through the guard tower, they have to go through the machine gun, the barb. There's so many levels for people to be able to get to you. But Uranus is now saying, we can't do that anymore. And maybe, Scorpio, you have seen some sort of big seismic shift that's happened over the past 2 years. Maybe it's in other areas of your life, or maybe I know this from other Scorpios, there's been that person, like maybe there's been a romantic relationship that's come in that's been completely different than the past. So Uranus is trying to awaken and open you and try to bring people in past that sort of hard Scorpio exoskeleton, because you are a Scorpion. So how do you get vulnerable? How do you connect with people the best one can in these days? And Mars is your planet. Mars has been in Aries since June, the end of June of 2020. Aries is your sign of work and health, and maybe you've been working your butt off the last 6 months. So it's a little bit, it's not a little bit, it's a lot of bit of a shift in tempo. Taurus sort of gets you to slow down, it gets you to savor, it gets you to taste and touch. Taurus is an earth sign, it's a very sensual earth sign, so maybe there's going to be a lot of sensuality and maybe even sexuality over the next 6 weeks. But do keep in mind, Scorpio, that this is part of a bigger story, a story that will in total span 7 years. You're only a couple of years into it. And if you are an early Scorpio, meaning you're born like in October going into the beginning of November, you're in it, you've been living it. If you're a later Scorpio, this is something that is building up and building up over the next couple of years. So we'll see what happens. Sagittarius. So Mars is going into the part of your chart that talks about work, projects, but it also in your day-to-day life, but it also talks about health and wellness. So when Mars goes in this part of the chart, it is a good time to really focus on your physical health, like getting some exercise, treating your body right, getting what your body needs, because your body is the most important relationship you will have in your whole life. But here's the thing, Uranus has been there for the last 2 years, so there may have been something about your physicality or your physical day-to-day life that has radically changed over the last 2 years. Maybe you switched diets the past couple of years. You went from not eating meat to eating meat, or cutting out gluten, or maybe you started doing a certain exercise so that you can be healthy in the way that is right for your body and you. So look and see what has shifted about your day-to-day life, your routines. Maybe your day-to-day life looks radically different than it did 2 years ago, but this, you can't deny your body anymore. Uranus is trying to open your eyes, it's trying to awaken you, it's trying to see how maybe things that don't look like they're connected on a physical level are in fact very connected. It could be the emotional body, how it affects the physical body. It could be how certain foods just aren't really a good fit for you, for example. Everybody, of course, is going to be different, but Sagittarius, just sort of look and see what the threat is, because now that Mars is there, It's going to be really in your face. I mean that in the best possible way. So don't neglect eating your vegetables at this time and taking care of yourself and getting things organized, because I think Mars can make it a little bit of a friction. Capricorn, this is the part of your astrology chart that talks about you in a way, but how you express you, your talents, your creativity, your persona, your identity. So Mars in this part of your chart sort of heats this up. Like you are really feeling you. You need to express something about you. You need to focus on your talents and your creativity. It's not a time to be shy with Mars in this part of your chart. Now here comes Uranus. So all Capricorns to some degree are in the midst of a 7-year story of really them finding themselves. The thing is that who are we? We are often who we think we should be, as opposed to who we really are. And you're in this period of time, Capricorn, where in addition, you've had Saturn in Capricorn, you had Pluto, well, you still do have Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto and Capricorn starting to strip you down, and that's not to, it's been difficult. It's not to make light of it. But when you strip away the things that really aren't you, what remains? And that's what you're kind of getting to the core of right now, Capricorn. You have to be you. But to be you, people are like, well, who am I? If I'm not this title after my name, if I'm not this job, if I'm not this goal that I've been working towards because I've realized that it's not my goal, it's my parents' goal or somebody else's goal, then who am I? Well, you have to feel that. This part of your astrology chart, by its nature, is what's called a fire sign, or fire room, fire house, so to speak, because it's about, you have to feel that energy within you, to feel that inspiration. You have to shine that light, even though we're talking about Taurus. It's what's called the 5th room in your astrology house. So you are needing to sort of really express yourself right now, Capricorn. So now is not the time to hold back. And I assure you, when Mars meets up with Uranus on January 20th, you will not be able to hold back anymore. Aquarius. So Aquarius, remember I said at the beginning, there are 4 signs that are going to have a really interesting 2021. Well, you are one of them. You are the last of them. That's because your Taurus is what's called the base of your chart. It's home, it's family, it's roots, it's foundation. Uranus went there in 2018 and 2019, and I've seen a lot of Aquariuses, not of course everybody, but I've seen a lot of Aquariuses that have moved across country. They've made big shifts, big changes in the home, big changes in family, and that's because now you have this planet that's really asking you, where's home? And if home is not truly the place where you need to be, meaning like where you grew up, or maybe you've made a separation from toxic family members, for example, but this part of your chart has been getting a lot of big rumblings the past couple of years. Maybe, again, you've made a big move. Well, here comes Mars. Mars, when it gets to this part of the chart, just in general, it could mean that there was a move. It could mean that there's a lot of changes in the home. The home becomes a noisy place. Maybe there's renovations. Maybe there's projects in the home. But there tends to be a lot of activity in the home. Well, here, Uranus is there already. So something's going on in the home environment. It's not quiet, peaceful Taurus. It's Mars and Uranus, what's going on. So maybe if you're an Aquarius and you're listening and think about what's going on in your home environment. Have you been thinking about wanting to move? Has there been some issue going on with family, something coming up from the past, or needing to make a radical break from something? But there's just a lot of concentration of things that's happening at the very root and base of your chart. So it's a little bit of an earthquake for you right now, Aquarius. Lastly, Pisces. This part talks about voice and communication. So when Mars comes into this part of your chart, you have a lot to say. And maybe you're not being very diplomatic about it. Maybe it's sort of coming out and it's pointed and it's hot. It's Taurus, so maybe it's something that you've been holding on to a long time. Maybe it's a grudge. Maybe you're finally speaking up about something that you've been holding on to. But here comes, Uranus is there as well. So you're in this time, Pisces, where you have to awaken your voice. You have to awaken to what your voice really is. And if you've been hiding it, if you've been devaluing it, if you've been afraid to speak up, well, that's not going to be the case the next 6 weeks. So this can also mean, because you do have other things happening in your chart, Pisces, where it's intuition. Maybe you're learning to listen to your intuition more. Maybe you're working on your psychic ability, or maybe you're just taking classes at this time and you're really trying to see the value of education and seeing the value of your education. Or if you're a writer, or if you're a communicator, you have to really believe in the power and the value of what you have to say. So that's, Mars and Taurus through the 12 signs. Mars will be in Taurus until March 3rd of 2021. So 6 weeks from now. And like I said, Mars will meet up with Uranus on January 20th, but it's just making this really tight square to Saturn all next week, going into January 14th. I think that's the Mars-Saturn square. Hopefully I'm not wrong. This week we have 2 other planets changing signs. We have Venus going into Capricorn on January 8th, followed by Mercury in Aquarius also on January 8th. When you see 3 planets or more, sometimes it's more, switch signs in 1 week, you know that the story's changing. Things, if things have been quiet and things have been going this direction, now they're going that direction. So especially if you are Gemini or Virgo, because Mercury is your planet. If you are Scorpio or Aries, because Mars is your planet. And then if you're a Libra or Taurus, because Venus is your planet. So those are the signs. You're now sort of navigating new territories, new archetypes, new things. So that's the highlights for this week. I remember thinking way back in in June, I was like, wow, Mars is going to spend 6 months in Aries. That's intense. I'm a Scorpio, so I'm kind of both looking forward to Mars and Taurus, but also not looking forward to Mars square Saturn and conjunct Uranus. So it's just going to be really interesting January and February. But, to an earlier point, a point that I actually wrote in my introduction to your January video scopes, I said what I'm doing by moving things to video is actually, it's in line with the astrology. There's something new that has to come in. It might kind of conflict with the old, but there has to be new structures. There has to be new ways of doing things. So this is just one example. Maybe you are seeing something in your life, but 2021 is where a lot of things that we've been sort of starting and building have to take form, because these things are happening. The Saturn square Uranus are happening in fixed signs. Fixed signs, it tries to fix things, tries to put them into shape, into form. It doesn't create things. It kind of holds things down. So there you go. That's your look at the astrology of January 4th to January 10th, 2021. Again, my name is Katie Sweetman. You can follow me on empoweringastrology.com. You can, of course, also listen to this on IGTV. Follow me on Instagram, Empowering Astro. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Twitter. On Spotify. I know some of you all listen. I know you're around the world. I know there are those people that are in Australia waking up. You're in Europe. You're here in the United States with me. So thank you so much for joining me every week and supporting my work. 2020 was kind of a crazy year. A lot of growth. So it's a good thing. So until then, be well, be safe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.